Winter is the perfect time to explore California, and there's no better way to do it than in a brand new Toyota Hybrid with 19 fuel-efficient options, like the stylish all-hybrid Camry, the adventure-ready RAV4 Hybrid, or the rugged Tacoma Hybrid. Toyota has the perfect ride for any adventure. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, a 2-year complimentary scheduled maintenance plan, an exclusive hybrid battery warranty, and of course, Toyota's legendary quality and reliability. Visit your local Toyota dealer and test drive one today so you can be prepared for wherever the road takes you this winter. Toyota, let's go places. See your local Toyota dealer for hybrid battery warranty details.
In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
It snowed. Can you believe it? It snowed. Yes, it snowed. I did see a couple of plows in Fairhaven, quite a few in Dartmouth. It's wintertime. I expect snow. Why wasn't it here for Christmas? That's what I ask. We are back again. Final Freedom Fools for 2025. And on this date, 29 nations signed on to form what we now know as the International Monetary Fund. 29 nations did it on this date, December 27, 1945. Let's get to the quote of the day. Only with both economic liberty and personal liberty can countries prosper, economies thrive, and individuals lead happy, autonomous, fulfilling lives. Only with both economic liberty and personal liberty can countries prosper, economies thrive, and individuals lead happy, autonomous, fulfilling lives. That quote from David Berglund. You probably don't know David. He's an author, was an author, passed away a few years ago. He and I were at odds with each other at a libertarian convention. He was running for, I think, chairman of the Libertarian Party at the time. And I was supporting somebody else who was running for chairman. But you know how it is. After all is said and done, and Berglund won, and Berglund was one of the originators of the Libertarian Party with Ron Paul and a few others. And so I'm having this conversation with David Berglund. I've got his book in my hand. And please understand, I was backing a candidate running against David. I didn't have anything personal or even political against David Berglund. I thought the person that I was supporting had a better battle plan. Most of the people did not. At any rate, Berglund and I became close enough that in reading his book, I thought many years ago, I'd like to adapt that to bring it to other people. And the Berglund family was okay with that. And so if I do indeed put out a book that isn't a book about something else, but about the Libertarian Party, it will be based off of David Berglund's book. That's how much respect that I have for David Berglund. I just thought at that particular time he wouldn't be the right person to be chairman of the party. And I guess time will tell down the road if I made the better move or the other people did. Be that as it may. That quote is from him, and he is absolutely correct. Only with both economic liberty and personal liberty can countries, including the United States of America, prosper, economies, yours, mine, the nations, thrive, and individuals lead happy, autonomous, fulfilling lives. And it kind of leads to where I thought I would begin today. And that is, as I think about our nation, I'm wondering, I think we can agree that besides being a land mass, that the United States is also an empire. Would anybody disagree that our nation is also an empire? But my question is the empire unraveling? So in other words, if you're like me, late 60s, and you've seen this nation transition through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2000 teens to where we are now. Many people that call this radio station, that listen to this radio station, often cite that things aren't the way that they used to be, or I wish we could go back to when. Change is change, and we're not really going to go back, but I'm not crazy about the fact that the United States is an empire. I'm willing to admit that we are an empire. But do you believe that the empire is unraveling? The British, next to Canada, do we have a closer ally, friend, ally in the world? I mean, Mexico has a border with us, but I would say that the British are a closer ally. So why do I bring up Britain? Because they are threatening and have started to withhold intelligence dealing with the Caribbean with the United States. Why? You're right. The blowing up of ships in the Caribbean, I want to say in Venezuelan waters, but I guess we have found out that that's not happening in Venezuelan waters, and the withholding of ships. Britain withholding intelligence from us. China. You know, this has been a love-hate relationship for decades now. But China, the ambassador to the United Nations, gave a flamboyant speech last week, I think a week ago today, at the United Nations about the United States handling of the situation in the Caribbean, Venezuela. Not only did this guy go on a rant, but he basically called out the United States and said, we got to stop or worry about China intervening. Now, I'd say this to you. China is a long way away from Venezuela. And in fact, unless you take those ships and go south around Argentina and make your way back up South America, you're going to have to go through the Panama Canal to get to Venezuela. I think. Pretty sure. I'm a betting man. That's what you'd have to do. Or I guess you can take the real long way and go Indian Ocean and try to make your way around to the Atlantic and then eventually come across that way. But that seems like a waste of oil. And speaking of oil, China has a vested interest in Venezuelan oil. And I believe one of the tankers that was stopped in the Pacific, Venezuelan tankers, had Chinese or oil headed for China. Let me ask you, if the Chinese put a blockade on, you name your nation's oil reserves and stopped oil that was earmarked for the United States, wouldn't you expect our government to speak loudly about it at the United Nations? Maybe the President of the United States giving a speech to Congress. You know, we might need to do something about this. China is calling out the United States and the Russians. Say whatever you want about Ukraine. The Russians are backing China in this particular case. So I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, well, what can really happen here? The United States is going after Maduro. And you and I, we may disagree on the stories that are coming out. I might think mine's right. You might think yours is right. But one thing that we can't argue is that Venezuela is a sovereign nation, just like the United States of America is a sovereign nation. And I certainly wouldn't want some nation putting a blockade around the United States. Go ahead and try putting a blockade around the United States because maybe Biden didn't win the White House legitimately, or Trump didn't win it legitimately, or Obama, or you name your president. I know our president says that Maduro is running drugs. That is yet to be proved. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not, but there's no proof. No proof in those boats that have been blown up. If there was, if we didn't blow them up, maybe we could find some proof. But at any rate, there's no proof that those boats were earmarked for the United States. So my question at the beginning is, the USA, United States of America, our empire, is it unraveling? Because now what happens? If we keep China from getting their precious oil, what should we expect the Chinese to do? And you might say, well, that's a long way for them to travel from China to Venezuela. And I would have to agree with you. It is a long way to travel. But you know what isn't long? The trip from, let's say, mainland China to Taiwan. And with our naval buildup in the Caribbean the way that it is over Venezuela, what do we do if something breaks out in the Pacific? What would be the Western Pacific to us, the Eastern Pacific to China? I can bring up a couple of nations. Taiwan, I already brought that one up. What about Korea? North Korea borders China. What about Vietnam? Now, I'm not trying to say that China's going to start a war with any of those nations, but they can be very disruptive with trade and whatnot. I'm just asking because I don't want this to happen. I'm not crazy about us being an empire, but I suppose it's better to be in the belly of the beast than the butt of the beast. But I come back to my question. If we are unraveling, what do we do about it? Part of the problem I see is maybe we are spread too far all over the place. We have our military in how many nations? I'd like to see our military defend the United States instead of trying to defend other nations' interests that we seem to think that we have a vested interest in. That might be unwise because what happens if we don't get precious minerals? What happens if other nations have those minerals instead of us? Well, I go back to the quote of the day from David Berglund. Only with both economic liberty and personal liberty can countries prosper, economies thrive, and individuals lead happy, autonomous, fulfilling lives. And I have been listening as well as talking about for the past 8 years, even longer, because Trump kind of ran on this back in 2015, leading to the 2016 election that he won. And that was about the economy. The economy got better under Trump. Then it got worse when we went into the crisis called pandemic. Seemed to flutter at the beginning with Biden. Got tremendously worse before kind of turning around. And now look where we are in almost 2026. Economically, people are not thriving. Excuse me. The multi-millionaires and the billionaires, they are thriving. But the folks on State Street or Bentley, even the folks in Tony, Marion, and Mattapoisett, they're not living that high lifestyle anymore. Or maybe they never did. Our country is not prospering at this particular time. That doesn't mean individuals within our borders aren't prospering. But in general, this country is not prospering. And as far as leading and living happy, autonomous, I think a lot of us are happy when we want to be. We're not happy when we go to the supermarket. We're not too happy when we go to the gas station. We're not too happy paying the electric and the gas bill. And wait until people start figuring out that part of the distribution or delivery charge of their electric bill is helping to offset the data centers that are being built up, leading to better artificial intelligence. Oh, you didn't know that? Well, you do now. Maybe I should ask that as a question. Should you be offsetting the data or data centers on your electric bill? Yeah, you don't really hear that from Eversource or from the governor or from the Department of Public Utilities. They never really bring that up. And I often wonder why. I mean, it's one thing when you tell us that you're offsetting poor people. You put a divide between the folks that are not so poor and not really poor and not poor at all against those that are poor. But I think the divide you really don't want is that divide where the poor who are getting offset by the delivery charges, if all of those people ganged up against the electric company to say, hey, why are we all offsetting the data centers? I wonder if the governor knows about that. I kind of think she does. And the reason why I kind of think that she does is because the governor used to be the attorney general. And the attorney general knows about that kind of stuff. Just saying. 508-996-0500 is how you get on to the program today. So, we've got what's going on in the Caribbean. And China, look, if it's the first you're hearing about this, my suggestion would be to go to YouTube. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that will show you the China representative speaking at the United Nations and the majority of the nations agreeing with the Chinese ambassador, attaché. And there are other top professors that would concur with what China stated. So it's not me just kind of saying because I don't think that we should be bombing boats down in the Caribbean. I want the truth. So if Venezuela really is running drugs to the United States, I would want the proof. And then we can work from there that they are definitely doing. So in other words, their drugs, I don't know, there might be a pit stop in Mexico. But if there's verifiable proof that the drugs are earmarked for the United States, so in other words, I don't care if those drugs are earmarked for Africa, Europe, Asia, not that they might not turn around and come back. But the President of the United States and many others under his umbrella are telling us that these drugs are killing people here in the United States. Wouldn't you want proof of that? Or do you prefer to take him at face value? And please, do me a favor. Don't say, well, under Biden this or under Obama. I won't argue whether it did or didn't, but they're not in charge right now. This guy, Donald J. Trump, he is the one in charge. And he is the one that's telling us that we're doing the blockade, that there are definitely drugs in the... How would he know that there are drugs in the boat unless he actually saw them? And this is what I would like to believe. Maybe I'm naive, but if there's really proof, you would show us the proof. You wouldn't need to blow up the boats. You would like to take... You want to present the United States of America as the epitome of how empires really should run the show. You want to take these people in as prisoners. You want to have them go through a court of competent jurisdiction. And if they're found guilty, whether there's a deportation, don't let them do it again, or they are behind bars for an indefinite period of time. That's what you showed the world. But we seem to be afraid to do that. We seem to think it's okay to just blow up boats in international waters with no proof. And China came out and made that statement at the United Nations the other day. I kind of wonder what took so long, but be that as it may, that's what they were stating. And now it's gotten to the point where these oil tankers, and those things are massive. We are trying to stop them, and on 2 occasions we have. And apparently we think it's okay to keep the oil. We being the president and his MAGA buddies. Once again, it's not ours. Is that what empires do? We steal. So, is the United States empire unraveling? I know here we are a few days before New Year's, and this is what's going through my head today. Why is it going through my head? Because even during the Biden administration and the first Trump administration, my guess is I can take this all the way back to the turn of the century. I have slowly watched the country devolve into what we are witnessing today and what people are willing to accept. How many times have people argued with me over stuff that they know I'm right talking about, but, well, we got to do something to get rid of the illegals. And look, people are going to get caught up in the act. You know better. You know better. And we're accepting this. We are helping, and I throw me into that, we are helping the United States empire unravel. And that pains me. That really does pain me. Because I don't know about you, but I spent Christmas with family. Most people did. And I'm sitting there at the prime rib table, and I'm thinking, I want to be able to do this next year and the year afterwards. I like the freedom of association that we have. And I like the idea of thinking that I can go to a family member's house, drive down the street, and not have to worry about ICE agents mistaking me for whomever. And you might be sitting there and saying, that doesn't really happen. I don't know what United States you've been living in, but it does happen in the United States of America. And if it were 1 time or 2 times, 10 times, I would say, yeah, they made a mistake, but they're trying their best. But it's been more than 10 times. And it's as if they're working on marching orders that say, just do it this way, no matter what. And that's what's happening on the homeland. Look at our foray into the Middle East. Now, I don't know what's going on in Syria right now, but I'm hard-pressed to believe that the United States doesn't have something to do with it. I'd like to believe that we don't, but I might be grasping at straws. But I find it very difficult to believe that somehow, some way, we're not on one side or the other. Or maybe both. Then, of course, there is Venezuela. And what do we do about that? All this circles back to home. Because we are 38, who knows how many trillion in debt. And I can't help but think, how do we get out of this? And more to the point, if we continue to aggravate China, say whatever you want about China. China doesn't have to drop a bomb. The bomb that they will drop are our bonds. All they have to do is sell off our bonds. And the United States of America is penniless. So before we decide that it's okay to keep on interrupting the oil shipments to China, we have to think of the larger repercussions. They don't have to fire a shot. We don't have to fire a shot. But can you imagine if China, the nation, dumped its bonds that they're holding? What that would do to our fragile economy, fragile the way that it is right now. Thinking about going out for New Year's? Whew. What if they, see, what day is the 30th? 30th is Tuesday. What if on Tuesday, China announced that they're dumping an overwhelming majority of the bonds of the United States that they're holding? How would that make for New Year's Eve? All right, 508-996-0500. That's how you get onto the program today. I'm Brian. This is Freedom Fools, the last Freedom Fools for 2025.
When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty.
This is WBSM.
Bring out the helmets and bring out the best.
People ask all the time, who the heck is low-cost airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-221-6085. 800-221-6085. 800-221-6085. That's 800-221-6085.
You know, most people are not business owners, but just about everybody knows one. The dirty little secret is most owners don't qualify for a bank loan because they lack collateral. At legitimate business funders, owners can get up to $2 million in funding with no collateral, even with a low credit score. And they can get that funding in a couple of days. Find legitimate business funders online at legitimatebusinessfunders.com. Legitimatebusinessfunders.com.
Winter is the perfect time to explore California, and there's no better way to do it than in a brand new Toyota hybrid with 19 fuel-efficient options, like the stylish all-hybrid Camry, the adventure-ready RAV4 hybrid, or the rugged Tacoma hybrid. Toyota has the perfect ride for any adventure. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, a 2-year complimentary scheduled maintenance plan, an exclusive hybrid battery warranty, and of course, Toyota's legendary quality and reliability. Visit your local Toyota dealer and test drive one today so you can be prepared for wherever the road takes you this winter. Toyota, let's go places. See your local Toyota dealer for hybrid battery warranty details.
There's no better fool than the Freedom Fools. Now, back to Brian.
Now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years, and I said, Alan, I agree with you, so we can do it. Think about it.
Alan's here someplace. Where's Alan?
Alan is here. Oh, he had a flight.
I don't know who that person was in the background going, 4 more years. But as we know by reading the Constitution, in particular the amendment that states that basically you can only serve 10 years or 2 4-year terms. And you've got Miriam Adelson talking to Donald Trump about running again. This is a woman that put a whole bunch of money into the Trump campaign. And I can't help but think, what does she want now? Because you don't just throw $250 million into a race to see a particular person win and not expect something in return. Now, it's my understanding that Miriam has dual citizenship, one with the United States, and she almost speaks perfect English, and one with Israel. What does she want for her $250 million? Now, she's a billionaire, so I'm not going to poo-poo $250 million. But you got to think she wants something. What could it be? When you give $250 million to the presidential campaign, not knowing for sure that your candidate is going to win, I would think in this past case, it became fairly evident. It became evident to me even before the silly debate where Joe Biden had no clue what the hell was going on. It was apparent to me before then that Donald Trump was going to win in 2024. I'm going to say at the tail end of 23, beginning of 24, I figured it out. And I think most people by that time had figured it out too, because there had been so many lapses in President Biden. So it was a pretty good bet to give $250 million. What did she want? What does she want? What does her family crave that they're willing to spend $250 $50 million in order to get it. And then be willing to give even more money if Donald Trump runs again. And so my original question is the United States empire unraveling? And I've been called on this before, in that people are absolutely correct. There have been people giving lots of money to political campaigns all of my life. I just don't ever recall it being so in your face before. It's almost as if somebody is waving $250 million in your face, saying, I'm giving it to this person, you can't do anything about it, and then watch what happens. Am I the only one getting that feeling? When people pay millions of bucks to have a meal down in South Florida at the president's mansion, do you get the feeling that they're paying that kind of money just so they can have fresh lobster? Or do you think that maybe they're talking some business? Yeah, I think they're talking some business. And I'm not trying to say that's illegal. I'm not even trying to say I want it to be illegal. But I do want the yous and me's to be aware of what's happening. So when we do pull the lever, check the box, whatever, we don't go in there thinking, well, it's got to be candidate A or candidate B. There's no other choice. If I vote for candidate B, well, then I'm giving A at a disadvantage, and I would prefer to have A. I want people to vote for the person that they really believe will do the job honestly, upholding the Constitution, etc. And I think that we have had several presidents that are willing to do pretty much what they want to do. We've had vice presidents, and I think of the late Dick Cheney in particular, who guided us into the war on terror, to the point that many people sit down right now and believe we are actually in a war against terror without thinking, well, what are the boundaries with this war on terror? It was bad enough when it was described shortly after the World Trade Center disaster. But now look at it. Narco-terrorism. You can pretty much name anything and decide it's negative or it can impact the United States negatively, so we're going to call it a form of terrorism. If people have a different type of religious belief, we can call that a form of domestic terrorism. If people have come to the United States of America, have assimilated into this country to the point that they have either green card or worked their way up to getting citizenship. That we have people in power right now that are thinking about taking that citizenship away or that green card away because somebody might think differently. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't commit any crime. Unfortunately, these are the things that have been running through my head throughout the month of December. Things that, while I'm making a prime rib, are still echoing in the back of my mind. And as we look at where we are today, December 27, they're still there. Because as great of a nation as the United States of America is, we're only as good as the people that are here. And to me, the United States has heritage, but heritage doesn't make somebody a United States person or what people call an American. Because, quite frankly, there are people that have the heritage of being here, of being born here, whose family members were born here, whose family members before them were born here. But frankly, they don't always act like they are American, or they don't extend those values to others that have earned their right to be called an American. Whether or not they've got a hyphenated name, Hispanic American, African American. To me, it isn't about heritage, although I've got deep bloodlines in this nation. It's about what you do. It's about a creed. That's what I want to say. It's about a creed. Either you get what this nation is supposed to be about, or you don't. And that's what makes an American. Now, that doesn't mean that I want people that were born here to be just taken out because their parents may not have been born here. But I think the value of what it's supposed to be an American is being stripped away, along with this place that we call an empire. And if we don't try to grab it and bring it back home, we are going to lose it, and we're going to lose it big. And to me, that is a very scary proposition, because what if China decides to dump their bonds? What if we get into a big fight down in the Caribbean? A lot of what ifs. What if we keep on incarcerating accidentally or whatever people that are green card holders or U.S. citizens? To me, this is what helps to break the fabric of the United States, empire or no empire. I'll take your calls on this during hour number 2. Freedom Fools, right here on WBSM.
I'm coming to Boston. I'm bringing hell with me.
WBSM.
Take only American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
You know, most people are not business owners, but just about everybody knows one. The dirty little secret is most owners don't qualify for a bank loan because they lack collateral. At legitimate business funders, owners can get up to $2 million in funding with no collateral, even with a low credit score. And they can get that funding in a couple of days. Find legitimate business funders online at legitimatebusinessfunders.com. Legitimatebusinessfunders.com.
People ask all the time, who the heck is low-cost airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-221-6085. 800-221-6085. 800-221-6085. That's 800-221-6085.
Winter is the perfect time to explore California. And there's no better way to do it than in a brand new Toyota hybrid with 19 fuel-efficient options, like the stylish all-hybrid Camry, the adventure-ready RAV4 hybrid, or the rugged Tacoma hybrid. Toyota has the perfect ride for any adventure. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, a 2-year complimentary scheduled maintenance plan, an exclusive hybrid battery warranty, and of course, Toyota's legendary quality and reliability. Visit your local Toyota dealer and test drive one today so you can be prepared for wherever the road takes you this winter. Toyota, let's go places. See your local Toyota dealer for hybrid battery warranty details.
Freedom Pools on WBSM. Here's more with Brian Thomas.
Actual teaching of students is like a 3 to 4 hour max a day kind of situation. All the rest of it is just like running around, transportation, changing classes, break times, and all that kind of stuff. And at home, you just don't need that. So the kids are going to be way less like stressed out and burnt out.
I kind of like that idea. Oh, but by the way, as I look at the snow outside the window, I can't help but think, where was this for Christmas Day? Wouldn't you prefer to have the snow on Christmas as opposed to the Saturday after? I'll tell you what, I walked into Stop and Shop in Dartmouth on my way to the station this morning, and I happened to notice that the parking lot was eerily empty.
Winter is the perfect time to explore California, and there's no better way to do it than in a brand new Toyota hybrid with 19 fuel-efficient options, like the stylish all-hybrid Camry, the adventure-ready RAV4 hybrid, or the rugged Tacoma hybrid. Toyota has the perfect ride for any adventure. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, a 2-year complimentary scheduled maintenance plan, an exclusive hybrid battery warranty, and of course, Toyota's legendary quality and reliability. Visit your local Toyota dealer and test drive one today so you can be prepared for wherever the road takes you this winter. Toyota, let's go places. See your local Toyota dealer for hybrid battery warranty details.